Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. This is Christopher Aaron. It is early in the morning on the 19th of October 2017. It has been 2 weeks since the last broadcast, and how I have missed you. Thank you for tuning in. And I am serious about that because there is something that I derive as well from vocalizing the analysis that we prepare here, and it really helps to clarify some of the points as I observe things happening here in the precious metals market that I am not so thrilled about all the time when I see. So what am I talking about? Let's get into it. For example, we have articles like this coming out quite frequently, and I think really, this is the kind of thing that turns people off to the precious metals, at least when they reach a certain point. And I think this is why a lot of people have gotten tired of considering this market. This article was published by Mike Maloney on one of the recent gold-related websites. As you know, I publish all of my articles exclusively on Gold Eagle. I am an editor for the site, and I have a relationship with them. So all of my articles you can find on Gold Eagle. But this was from another website published by Mike Maloney. And look, just to start off from the top, I have a lot of respect for Mike Maloney. Back in the last decade, I learned quite a few of the fundamentals that were going on in the gold market. At the time, I learned those thanks to Mike. So I am appreciative of some of the information that he shares. But I think the problem, what I saw myself, especially in the crash of 2008 in the precious metals, where all of these fundamental base analysts were completely blindsided by the fact that the precious metals could sell off so severely, even when the stock market was crashing. I got turned off to the fundamental only form of analysis, and especially in 2011. And we saw over and over again from 2011 through 2015, year after year, month after month, week after week, these types of articles coming out and talking about game changers and new sovereign buyers showing up in the market and a new exchange opening in Shanghai, and therefore the gold price is going to higher. And I just got tired of it personally. And I said, this fundamental-based analysis, they may be right on some of these fundamentals, but the problem is that whatever fundamentals they are talking about here are only one fraction of what is impacting the entirety of the market. So, and it's not just this one article. It's not just Mike Maloney. Then you have on the other side, you have articles like this that come out, this one from Harry Dent, who, based on my estimation, has been calling for gold to fall to $700 or lower basically for the last 10 years. And it still hasn't happened, and he comes out with this every few months and changes it for a different fundamental reason. It's just not happening. We don't see it. We don't see any signs that gold is falling anywhere near 700 based on what? The observable trends. So this is where I come in. This is the type of analysis that I must perform. I must do this as an investor in the precious metals markets to stay rational, to stay sound about my own investments. And what I do is I share that with subscribers, because there's no way that I could focus on this market without analyzing the charts. There are simply too many of these fundamental news stories that, again, may be true, but they paint too inaccurate of a portrayal of what is actually happening. Where does every participant in the precious metals market come in? Including the game changers, including the sellers, including the hedge funds, including the central banks, including the manipulators. Where do they all come in? To the current price. So we analyze the current price, we analyze the trend of prices, and we attempt to come up with some sort of a reasonable idea of what is actually occurring in the gold market and what has a high probability of occurring in the intermediate future. Now, it looks to me like there is no game change. If there was a game changer happening here in gold, we would see it. We would see a shot higher by several $100s if there was a true game changer. I'm not saying that can't happen. There could be a black swan event, especially with the North Korea tensions that are going on. But we do not see any evidence for this quote-unquote game changer, as referenced in that Mike Maloney article. What do we see is an extremely healthy, going on 5 years now, basing process. This back and forth, but with a decidedly rounded shape here, basing process underneath the 1400 level. So the question that I'm asking right now, I see this as a base. You had a severe decline for a couple of years, a basing process. How is this basing process going to resolve? We talked about some of the early signals, the massive volume, record-breaking volume that we've seen. We've seen a lot of other signals, the breakdown in the gold to silver ratio. What is this basing process going to take? What shape? The possibility that this is going to take a parabolic initial curve here is still viable. We see these lows coming up and hitting this curve right here, the fourth attempt just recently at 1262. If this does not hold, we have another scenario that we're looking at, given that this is a basing process here. This is basing price action. We can very clearly see that. This is not a severe decline. The severe decline already happened. In a base, there are various ways that this can play out. So if this base is going to take more of a linear pathway, we may be looking at the target, which we have derived here as a technical target between 1485 and 1535. That is the target that I'm standing by for this intermediate move. The other way that this could play out would be in a linear fashion, which would push out the target toward the end of 2018, perhaps first quarter of 2019. We have to remain open to these possibilities. We zoom this in, looking at all of the leading signals. Everything that is impacting this analysis goes out every week to premium subscribers. And I do release this in bullet point form here for free to try to counteract some of those extremist points that we see in the mainstream, not the mainstream, let's say in the gold community. I do like to provide something of a reasoned voice here based on observable trends. That's all that a chart is. It's observable trends. Once again, we look at one of the major data points here that just tells me right now that this is the market that I want to be involved in. We're looking at the XAU index, the gold and silver mining index, versus the US stock market. The 2000 low is being matched right now as far as valuation. Certain companies went up 1,000 or 2,000% in the course of this bull market from 2000 to 2011. And we are at the same value right now that we were in 2000. So this is why I'm not interested in the mainstream stock market, but I am focused on the precious metals sector. To me, the observable data shows that the precious metals are as cheaply valued as they have ever been. Here's where we are. Now, this, as we've seen going back into the previous 2 decades, this type of bottoming process can take some time to play out. So we don't know if this is going to round out here at the end of 2017 or if this base is going to extend into 2018. These are the possibilities that we're looking at on a regular basis. The bottom line is that the valuations are extremely attractive. This does not mean gold is going to the moon right now or within the next year. I do thank you for watching. Once again, the premium research goes out every week. In addition to gold and silver, we also cover individual miners that I am holding here personally, as well as the reasons for that, the fundamental research that goes into that as well. I also work with individuals on a one-on-one basis by voice and by email consultations if you have a unique situation that you would like someone's opinion on who does not sell the metals and will not only tell you to buy. For example, perhaps you are overinvested and there's reason to sell. Perhaps you're too concentrated in a specific mining company. I see this all the time. I don't think that's good to do. These things can go massively higher throughout the course of a bull market. The valuations were shown. This is the lowest that the sector has been ever compared to the broad stock market. There is some massive opportunity, but you do not want to be overly invested in any one story. In the same way that those fundamental stories, that we saw in the very beginning, the Game Changer article, it's very easy to believe a story about one of these mining companies. We need to be careful about that. I've seen plenty of stories go wrong. So we want to focus on the technicals primarily and make sure we understand what's driving those technicals. That is the fundamentals. Thank you for watching. I will see you this time next week.